Catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.
Hey guys, welcome to Cruise Control. My name is Bookii, your host on Cruise Control. And of course, we do this on Africa Tech Radio. We're your number one Africa's technology radio, reporting on Africa's technological advancements. And we do this Monday to Friday, one broadcast at a time. We have a series of shows you can listen to on the website. But thank you for clicking the link for this one. So I promise we're going to have an amazing time on the show today. I recently came across a social media post. This guy is my favorite actor, and if you've seen Peaky Blinders, you know Cillian Murphy. That's his name, yeah. So he's the main character in Peaky Blinders, and he was put on the spot on red carpet, on shows where he was a guest, different occasions, and they would ask him about different things, and he doesn't even know the most simplest thing. What's an emoji? Do you use an emoji? He said, what's an emoji? What's that? And somebody said, oh my God, Cillian and Julian, that's the other guest on the show. And he said, oh, I thought OMG means something on the periodic table. And they asked him, which other question? I'm trying to remember. The guy is just not in this social media world with us. It was a deliberate act to be off social media. Kind of made me think of the time I talked about social media detox. Just in case you're wondering, we have that on the website. So check through the list of shows on Cruise Control. You definitely find that one very, very interesting and insightful. For those of you who are sick and tired of being on your phones, being on any tech gadget for too long, you can take a break. Learn why it's important though. So today I decided to do us a favor on the show by introducing some of the words that we usually use in this tech space, but most people don't even know the meaning. They probably don't know that these words exist. So for those people who are like new to tech space listening to me, I'm sure you don't know the meaning of API. Yeah, it took me a long time to find out too. If I didn't work in tech space, I don't think I would know, because it's really none of my business, right? That's how I used to think about it. And of course, right now it's a tech world, so you cannot claim ignorance is no longer a standard for existence. Ignorance is actually stealing so much from you, because imagine somebody telling you we have to go buy API textbook. Huh? I did that when I was in school, buying all those funny textbooks. I didn't say I want to buy a biology something, but there was a biology textbook, osmosis or osmoregulation textbook. I just knew to ask for more because my mom didn't know. Yeah, maybe she would know after this show. So I don't want you to be in that situation, especially for, I want to say, baby bloomers and my set. The millennials are now having babies. So I don't want you to be that kind of parent whose child is going to be knocking your head. Meaning they are going to extort you because you lack knowledge. So today, let's go through some of the short words and their meaning. There was a vox pop I did a few months ago where we went on the street and asking people the full meaning of some short words like AR, VR, AI, and I found out so many people didn't know. You see, so the reason why I'm doing this is for you and I. So let's start off with the first one. Let me start with the API I mentioned. So if you hear software developers, mostly people who are building a website, they talk about API, meaning application program interface. These are the things that help you interact with the software or the website. So API means application programming interface. Another one would be ATM. Yeah. So this is for the telecom companies. So it means a synchronous transfer mode and is mostly used by people in the telecom sector. Another word would be CPU. You can't tell me you don't know central processing unit. So it's a microprocessor, because the list of words we have to check before we get to the really serious one. FTP is actually called File Transfer Protocol. This is where companies they use to transfer their files. Before the likes of Google Drive came into play, most companies were using File Transfer Protocol. Of course, HTTP, you must have seen this on websites a lot. It means Hypertext transfer protocol secure. They help to transfer files also, are mostly used for website and applications. This popular one, IP, Internet Protocol. Of course, if you use the internet a lot, these are back-end terms though. So it's the Internet Protocol that helps with the internet layering of your search of the page you're working on. So my love for doing this today is because I thought of so many people. There was somebody we asked about AR on the streets. It was the most ridiculous answer. People just come up with so many crazy terms, especially when they don't know the meaning of the thing. They just try to look for a word in their head and match with the word you're asking them. But don't do that. Don't do that. After listening to today's show, you don't have a reason to do that. So moving to more bigger words that helps for people who are working in tech space. Most people I would expect to know this, but some people still don't know. So I'll do the service of explaining a little bit. So we have AWS, known as Amazon Web Services. So it's like a cloud platform service. They offer computer power, database storage. So these are the people that first of all got into that database thing that everybody is raving about. So most of your informations are stored in the cloud. And to have a cloud space, you have to buy from some of these big companies like Amazon, Meta. We have a couple, Oracle, yes. So they have this cloud service that they offer to people, and they rent the space also to individuals, to businesses, to government agencies. They help to store their database in the cloud. So wherever you see AWS with that arrow sign going from under the A to the S, that means you're working with Amazon Web Services. Okay, moving on to API, like I mentioned, Application Programming Interface is a software that allows two different applications to communicate with each other. So when you're using an app on your phone, you're actually interacting with an API, Application Programming Interface. That's what enables you to see the hardware of the programming. So I don't want to say software. Hardware of the programming means the things you can interact with on your phones, on your laptop, the applications you're running. So another one would bring tech guys. They use this one a lot. If they don't want you to know what they're talking about, they'll be like talking to their friends and they just go BYOD. I'm like, you say what? They're like BYOD. I'm like, okay, can you give me the meaning? It means bring your own device. Just like you're going to party and they're telling you bring your own drinks. So BYOD means bring your own device. This is a concept that allows employees to use their personal device for work, especially if you're using outstation, you're using workstations. You don't want to work at your office, you don't want to work at home, so you go look for places you could work. They allow you to bring your own device. So when you see on the door BYOD, meaning you can bring your own device. And when your techie friends are talking and sounding like super cool and not trying to make you get what they're saying, BYOD, bring your own device. So another one is, you know how there are sites and they get attacked by, I don't want to say it's really like a cyber attack, but you're trying to access them and it's hard because they're having traffic jam, especially on New Year's. I used to experience this with telecoms company a lot. My network providers, they always have this problem. So they have traffic jam on their services. So this could be called the DDoS, Distributed Denial of Service. So it's a malicious attempt to disrupt normal traffic of a service, a server, or a network by overwhelming the infrastructure with a flood of fake traffic. So there are a lot of people trying to block them from having real traffic. So this could be a competitive thing where your competitors attack you and stop all your users from having access to your website, to your server, to your network, all those kind of things. It happens. So the attacks are initiated by flooding the bandwidth with resources of target system. These attacks are effective as they utilize a network of compromised computers. That's why you have to learn more about cyber attack or cyber security. Yeah. when you know about hacking, you definitely know to protect your tech stuff, because it could happen to anybody. Okay, the Internet of Things that we very much talk about on here, it's also important you learn about the Internet of Things, especially for those of us that carry our devices up and down in different, and we use them, connect to Wi-Fi anyhow, anywhere. Okay. FTP is the file transfer protocol that I mentioned. This is a network of protocols used by transferring files between a client and a server on a computer network. It's mostly used by offices, like I said before, the likes of Google Drive came into play. So if, for example, I remember when I opened my WordPress website, I definitely was using the FTP. Most people who were using WordPress back then had to use this as their web server to host their website. So you have to use the file transfer protocol. Though it's less common these days, because like I said, people use the cloud now. Amazon is there, Oracle is there, Google is there. Do you get? So people really don't use this that much, but it's still very effective. It does the same thing, helping to store database. And IP, which is the Internet Protocol, you hear this a lot. So it stands for Internet Protocol. IP is not, I want to say ITK, I too know, but no, it's IP. Yes, you would hear this term a lot in the tech space. A whole lot of jargons being said, but IP is very, very common. It's the principal communication protocol in the Internet Protocol suite, meaning FTP, HTTP, HTTPS, all known to be in this section. They are all part of the Internet Protocol. So there are a set of rules for the routing and addressing of data, so they can travel across networks and reach the correct destination. Another one you would hear is ISP. We say this a lot, but we don't even know it as ISP. I know it because I'm a Nigerian and I'm using my Nigerian sense here to have this conversation. So for other Africans too, because I've been to Ghana, and the difference was here in Nigeria, our network providers sell us data, but in Ghana, everybody's calling it bandwidth. So I could not connect to the internet. I'm like, do you have data? Do you have data? And the person was like, what? We use bandwidth. And you know how they sound. Their accent is different from the way Nigerians sound. It took me a couple of minutes to understand that they meant bandwidth. So it's called bandwidth. I'm sorry, but it's just funny, and it took me a bit of time. That's what I love about culture and traveling. So we say internet service providers, but we don't call it ISP. But the tech guys call it ISP, because why say too much when you can say too little? ISP, Internet Service Providers, is an organization that provides you with access to the internet. So you have a lot of them, like Starlinks doing their stuff. We have MTN raising the 5G, Airtel coming in with 5G. You have your internet providers just trying to outdo their competition and give us better internet service. So when you talk about internet service provider, you don't need to say so much. Just say ISP. So my ISP haven't been functioning so well or serving me so well. Do you get? Just swag it up a little bit. So ISPs are interconnected to one another, just as individual customers and businesses pay ISP for internet access. So ISP also pay ISPs. So they're linked. You get it? So connect to your device or use a laptop. You need the internet. So you need the ISP to be attached to your system. So you need internet service provider for you to really utilize most of your tech gadgets. And I don't want you to go on the streets and be saying, after listening to Cruise Control and Africa Tech Radio, you still don't know some of the jargons or the terms or the words they use. It's not an excuse anymore, okay? The last one I would go on is SSO, which is the single sign-on. This is what we really do on most websites. You sign. You either sign in for the first time or you log in. So single sign-on is an authentication technology that gives users access to multiple applications with a single login credential. So it's different from just one. It's like what Google used to do. If you have a Google Mail and you're trying to use a new website or trying to log on to a new site, you would be asked if you want to log in manually or use your Google Mail. So that's just it. It's a single sign-on. So you use it across different platforms and applications. And it helps also in checking your identification once and letting you access all of your accounts instead of asking you to verify your identity each time you want to access one of your accounts. I think another people using this would be Instagram, social media. So you can open multiple accounts and run it via one method by letting them know that this account belongs to the owner of one particular account. So I run 4 accounts on social media. My business pages are like 2. Used to have a photography page on Instagram, but I've changed it to something else. I can't remember. I have a jewelry page. I have a bag page. I'm business oriented, and I have my personal page on there. So the 4th one used to be a photography page, but I think I've stopped and changed it. I can't remember what I changed it to because I've not really used it. But when I log in and I want to go directly, they don't ask me questions because they remember that Sally Bookii, which is on Instagram, own the other names of the page. You get it? That's a single sign on. So it's generally used in business environment where applications are assigned to users and managed by an IT team. So a big company that have different products that they are selling and attached to so many different platforms. So they utilize this by bringing everything together, and instead of just signing in or authenticating as a single sign in, you have this single sign on instead. It signs across platforms. I think I've done you guys a good job today. You've learned a thing of 2. So yes, clapping for you because you go into the world and let them know that you learned something from Cruise Control today. I hope this is very useful for you. Thank you for sharing your time with me on the show. It's been an amazing time having to go through all these words, abbreviation, and telling you the full meaning. Very educative, right? There are other shows you can listen to on our website. We have Glorious Grid. We have What the Tech Africa. Speaking to a lot of tech expert professionals. We have Tech Talks with Lillian. So you guys can listen on. Binge listen. Use your weekend to learn something. Don't always start your week with the old knowledge. I mean, you have Saturday, Sunday to learn something new. Listen to Africa Tech Radio all the time, or follow us on our social media pages on Instagram, A-Tech Radio, on Facebook, Africa Tech Radio, and on Twitter, Africa Tech Radio. I'm your humble host, Bookii. See ya. Catch ya later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.